In an effort to improve outreach to military veterans in the United States and Canada who may be struggling with an alcohol problem, we have collected interviews from AA members who are veterans of the U.S. or Canadian Armed Forces to share the experience and strength and hope they have found in Alcoholics Anonymous.
My name is Roger. I am an alcoholic. I'm a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was introduced as a teenager. I got sober in 1983, and at the age of 18, joined the military 4 years later to get the GI Bill and get out and go to school and do something meaningful, and stayed in the military for a 30-year career. I'm married. I currently live around Cincinnati, Ohio. After that long career, I moved back to my hometown, close to my grandchildren, which I love to spend time with. And it's just been a phenomenal journey, really. I hit a bottom early, and I was struggling in an economy that was jobs were hard to come by. I had a young family. I had a young child, and I considered the military. I saw all the recruiters and settled on joining the Army in 1989 and going away to training, basic training, airborne school. I landed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina as my first assignment. And what I'd learned in AA over those first few years was, especially people getting out of institutions, treatment, jail, connect with the group as soon as you get there. You know, in the first 24 hours, go to a meeting. And so that's what I reached out to AA as soon as I got to this new strange place. And it made connection a whole lot easier because I had friends already there that I hadn't met yet. I recognized the differences at first, and I really didn't like it. I recognized the customs in the meeting and the formats and things like that, and thought this is not the way it was back home. It took me a little while to realize it's the same program of recovery, it's the same steps, and it really did work the same. And once I got connected, it was really terrific. We deployed some elements to Operation Just Cause almost immediately when I landed at Fort Bragg. I wasn't a part of that. I was a part of sending them on. So a year later, when it was Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, at first it seemed like it was going to be the same thing, but then it was everybody. And I went and I had this experience where we were living in the desert in tents. And it was a loner experience, really. I was about 7, 8 months there without a meeting, without connection, without that fellowship that we learned to really rely on. And I reached out and wrote some letters back to the AA office in New York. There's a program called the Loners Internationalists, and they have a newsletter. And so they connected me with other groups. And so somehow I got on a mailing list where in the closet that I have at home, I have a shoebox. And in the shoebox is a lot of these letters that I saved, and a list of 150 names and addresses of fellow AAs who wrote and provided a meeting in print in letters, if you will, and connection. And they sent cards around their group signed by many, many people, and they sent care packages and speaker tapes of AA speakers at large convention meetings, and things that just got me through that period of time, which it just I don't know, it connected with me in a way that it made this fellowship real special. And you know, on and on. I mean, a 30-year career is a lot to talk about, but from there I moved to a lot of places. Had a similar experience much later in Afghanistan for Operation Enduring Freedom, where no longer was the mail. Mostly people just shipped packages and paid bills online. But then we had these online platforms. I was able to connect electronically with people back home on robust communication networks that didn't exist back in Desert Storm, and stay connected with the fellowship through that experience. So those kinds of things, and seeing AA work in different countries, Germany, Belgium, throughout Europe, and Alaska and Hawaii and places like that, really gave me this sense of this thing works everywhere, no matter what, and no matter who you are. I had some preconceived notions about the military before I joined the Army. Is like we work hard, we play hard, we drink hard, and what's that going to be like in a social setting for me? And I had this idea that, if I'm ever, I ran it over in my head so many times. If I'm ever confronted in a social environment about why aren't you drinking, or peer pressured or forced to drink, what would I do? And I had this speech in the back of my head about, I'm gonna get on my soapbox about you glorifying alcohol, um, and that I'm sober, and I never had to. I never ever had to give that speech or anything like it. It was never an issue. I was always had an exit strategy in those kind of situations where I wanted to get out. And it's easier in this day and age. You can fake a phone call on a cell phone and say, "I got to go," and you don't really have to explain, and you can just get out of the room. But I always had a method to do that. As I traveled, as I was assigned certain places, I was a little bit nervous about anonymity and what people would think, and how I might fit in. Well, what ended up happening from my very first duty station forward is after I developed some rapport and I did the best I could at my job, and I earned some trust, and I began to trust my leaders, I would reach out to them one on one and tell my commander or my NCOIC, my sergeant in charge, uh, my leaders, and usually the unit chaplain, my story or a piece of my story, and let them know that I was a recovering alcoholic, and that if they ever had anybody that came to them that might have a problem, then I would be happy to be a resource and talk to them and see if they wanted any help. And that worked so well the first time that I continued to do it. And in the military, it's a little like AA service. We believe in the spirit of rotation. So one of us is leaving, so you rarely have the same supervisor more than 2 years at a time. One of you is going to leave and move on to another assignment. So that happened a lot. And what happened was it was very effective in allowing me the opportunity to work with some people that needed help, that reached out, and take them to their first AA meeting and introduce them to Alcoholics Anonymous. I recall I was a detachment commander in Fort Carson, Colorado, and it's sort of a funny anecdotal story that I had a soldier that was having some problems getting to work on time, and some other disciplinary problems, and he asked to talk to me with my open door policy, and he came in and he said, "Hey, I need to self-refer myself to the Army substance abuse program." And I said, "Sit down and let's talk about what's going on." And he shared a bit of his story, and what in his head he was going to turn himself in before he got caught with a positive urinalysis, and they would give him a couple of classes and he would be better. And he went to this place to self-refer himself. Meanwhile, when he came back, I was able to share with him uh, as his leader, which is an awkward position, but here's a meeting schedule, and I would be happy to take you to your first meeting if you'd like to. And it worked out for him. He went into an intensive outpatient, and got sober after that. It's one of the most powerful tools that we have, is to share our story with professionals that we're already connected with, whether that be our chaplain or clergy or a doctor or a professional of any kind. It really is helpful in allowing me to help other people. I think my message to anybody, including veterans, is that you don't ever have to drink again if you don't want to. I think if I have a message, that would be it. That there's a solution. It was an obstacle for me to see myself as different or special. That the AA program works for everybody, and that includes military and veterans, and I've seen that firsthand. I'm sort of exploring what to do post civil service. My last day of civil service is in about 2 weeks, and I don't. I have absolute faith that a door will be opened. I don't know what that door is, but I'm in a real spiritually fit, comfortable place about all that. So life is good. Career was amazing and uh, beyond my wildest dreams. Beautiful family. Raised three boys that are now adults. So my wife and I are enjoying an empty nest. We got a smaller house close to the grandkids, and life is just really, really full and fulfilled. I think the big message is if you don't want to drink again, you don't have to. There's a there's a way out. There's a solution, and it will work for you regardless of your military service, your veteran status, or if you've never served. AA is local, and your local group is there. They probably got a chair waiting for you and would welcome you with open arms.
That's beautiful, Roger. Thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us today.
All right, thank you.
The views and opinions expressed during this podcast are those of the individuals. No one person speaks for AA as a whole. For more information about AA, please visit our website at aa.org. To find a meeting near you or a meeting online, download the Meeting Guide app on your mobile device.